Bias is dropped on Soccer's morning show. Soccer down here. John here, you there. And morning, Abby. And glad you're on from the very beginning. She says it's been a while since she's been able to do that. Glad you are. Glad you're here. Kind of a newsy show this morning. And we'll go in a couple of different directions. We have some television news to get into that broke before we got on the show this morning. Obviously, we're going to lead after opening kickoff with what happened late last night in Carson, California with the U.S. Women's National Team. I put out the bat signal to Bart, not knowing where Bart is or what he's up to. He might actually be doing like real world stuff, like actual work. But if Bart can make it, we'll have Bart on and bring him in to talk about what happened last night. We'll go through the loss with the Women's National Team 2-0 in Carson to La Tri. And so Mexico wins the group. U.S. is second in the group. Still don't know what's going on where and who's going to be seeded what and all this kind of stuff. And so we'll look at that loss, and then we will kind of analyze it, go through all the numbers. And Meg Linehan came out with a column last night at The Athletic, and we will go over that. So we've got that. Yesterday, the reason that Maddie was not here for the entire show is because she had work to do and stuff. So the U.S. Soccer had a press conference at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. We'll go over that and what happened. We'll hear from Cindy Parlow-Cone and get into all of the news that's there. If there are any leftovers that you guys have from Atlanta United's weekend, we'll get into that. Major League Soccer, we didn't get into the other results of the weekend. Traditionally, that's what we do during match weeks. For those of you who might be watching the show for the first time, Tuesdays we'll reserve for mopping up the rest of Major League Soccer in season, plus all the other notes and all the news of the morning overseas and stuff like that. So there's plenty to get into this morning. And what we'll do is obviously, and we got housekeeping we'll get into after opening kickoff before we get into the women's national team. And so there's plenty to get into this morning. Once again, let me know what's on your mind. You can do that in the Twitch pitch, and you can reach out to the show however you wish to reach out to the show, whether it's on the 280-character app. And thanks for watching there, or on Twitch, or on our YouTube channel. So thanks for hanging out with us again this morning, and let's rock and roll. So opening kickoff brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Here is the Abby QR code for those of you who are watching this morning and not listening after we release it later on. That's the QR code for our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. If I know Michael Valverde, he is already enjoying his kickoff coffee while he's hanging out with the show. That's the QR code. You click on that, takes you to Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Don't forget to use the code SoccerDownHere15. You get 15% of your purchase. They, in turn, take 10%, reinvest it into youth games, youth initiatives, very, very cool stuff from our friends at Kickoff Coffee and at kickoffcoffeeco.com. And I guess opening kickoff this morning is kind of stupidity down here and continuing stupidity. And for this, we really feel for our friend Jessica Charman. And once again, early this morning, her Reading got hit with yet another points deduction because of the stupidity of their owner, who has no business being an owner, period. And we'll get into the specifics here in just a second. But once again, Reading got called to the carpet. Specifically, the owner got called to the carpet, and it has to do with unpaid wages and trimming, anything and everything that is associated with game day operations. And it is a slog right now for anyone associated with Reading. And Jess, being one of the busiest people in show business, actually saw this morning. And what she said, quote, "Being a Reading FC fan is a literal emotional roller coaster. These points deductions hurt the wrong people. The players, the staff, the fans, none of them are responsible for this toxic, selfish owner. Save the club." And then always the hashtag sell before we die, DAI, Die Young, the owner. So James Earnshaw and others, trust me, this was big news this morning. So you have once again another 2-point deduction attached to His Majesty's Royalty and Customs, basically the tax man. Tax man comes knocking on your door, 4 letters you don't want to see in England, HMRC. His Majesty's Royalty and Customs. That's their version of the IRS. They knock on your door, and you're not going to like it. So, again, this idiot owner, for not doing what owners are supposed to do and still having a club that he can call his own, once again, another 2-point deduction. They're back in the relegation battle in the 3rd division of English soccer. Once again, De Jong pressured to sell. Not interested in investing any money at all. Further punishment for persistent non-payment of monies to His Majesty's Royalty and Customs, their version of the IRS. Another 2 points suspended in the verdict, reached by an independent disciplinary commission. Takes the total points to 18. 18 points deducted because of this genius who has no business being an owner, period. Completed his takeover of the club almost 7 years ago. 18 points have been deducted because of his stupidity and not wanting to invest. He's been fined £10,000. This is the new version. Fined another £10,000, I guess is how I should phrase it, by the commission, but will not be suspended. He'll face a further £100,000 fine if a deposit account is not funded. Once again, this is from our friend John Percy over at the Telegraph. 3 points above the relegation zone now. Ruben Sayas navigated them away from the relegation zone, but now they're back in the fight. 11 matches to go. First home defeat since December, last weekend. Young apparently, allegedly, possibly is in talks with parties who are interested in buying. You'll remember we talked about the protest that happened last month, the sit-in. And you had at Port Vale, you had the Port Vale fans who were completely and totally supportive, shaking hands with the Reading supporters. James Earnshaw this morning, once again, 8 months worth of fan protests, sanctions. Reading have been late paying the IRS for over 100 days in the last calendar year. You or I do that, and we got 2 things happening. One, the IRS is knocking on our door going, yo, pay up. Here's your interest rate. This is accruing daily. Good luck. You can settle now, or you can come up with a payment plan. Or you get those dudes that call you up from those restricted numbers or those numbers with the weird area codes that you don't know. Hey, you want relief from the Internal Revenue Service? That's what you get on this side of the pond. Over there, if you own a sports team, in this particular case, we're mad at you. Wave a finger. Reading Chronicle understands the club docked 2 points, leaving him 3 clear. And it is also understood that the club, meaning the players, they were also alerted to the news. 3rd straight season where the club's been docked points. And now apparently Saturday, they got a road game. 1,300 fans have already booked their tickets to the destination this weekend. So once again, stupidity reigns in the form of De Jong. And this is my own naivete that's attached to all of this. Why can't you put it in receivership? Why can't the EFL take it over to make sure that bills are paid, that you're not letting the cooking staff go? I mean, the most basic things have been happening at Reading that make no sense whatsoever. It's like, well, yeah, you need cooks, you need catering staff for match day. Nah, we can't afford that. Nah, we're out the door. Now we can't pay you, so you're out. To have this happen is inexcusable in the first place. To have this continually happen, it's like, what's the phrase? Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. where the EFL hasn't stepped in and taken over this franchise and courted owners and basically told Dy Young to go sit in a corner someplace. It's disappointing and it's frustrating for me as someone who is a supporter of sports and knows what these clubs mean in their communities. And I'd love to know why the EFL thinks that just because you're fining the guy that he's going to pay up. He's not there in country. What are you going to do? You're going to try and track him down, knock on his door? Mr. Young? Mr. Young? Are you going to knock on the guy's door? Hey, pay this up. Sorry, no one here by that name. And it speaks to the larger picture over there in the lower divisions, where you have owners who want to spend more than 100% of the income coming in to try and gain some kind of promotion or what have you. And it's a cautionary tale about recruiting owners. It's a cautionary tale about investment. But at the same time, the fact that you have these owners who operate in absentia and completely and totally just take things and they flush them down the toilet and really have no consideration whatsoever for the fans that have invested all this time. I mean, we're seeing it with the Oakland A's. A guy like John Fisher is more concerned about leaving and going to Vegas. Vegas is like, nah. Now, we ain't paying $380 million for you to get a stadium. And so now John Fisher is trying to figure out, okay, where can I go now? Can I go to Sacramento while they're building the stadium? Can I, do I have to go crawling back to Oakland? But once again, in this case, specific to Jess and her Reading, dinged again by the British IRS. Good luck tracking the guy down. He doesn't care. And he ain't paying no bills. He ain't paying no bills. And so 11 matches to go, 3 points clear of the relegation zone. Obviously, we'll be keeping track of this. If they get relegated again, it's just to League Two. That would be the fourth division of British soccer. And you wonder, sadly, about clubs like this and having to crawl out from that mess. But Dy Young has no business being an owner. And how the EFL approved him in the first place, I have no idea. Why they haven't taken over Reading for some kind of receivership, like I said, I don't know protocol, but that would make too much sense to me. Make ends meet. Instead of having front office personnel surrendering salary and, not getting paid and understanding that, hey, pay the players first. Those kinds of things should never happen. And they continually happen with an absent owner who doesn't care. So good luck collecting the 10 grand. Good luck collecting that extra 100 grand. You ain't getting a dime. All we can only hope in a situation like this is you, Reading, get an owner who invests, who cares, and wants to stick with the club instead of this genius that's right there now. So whenever we can track down Jess, which is like tracking down rain through an open hand or grabbing a comet's tail, we'll catch up with Jess about this too. But yeah, Reading dinged another 2 points because of the owner and their version of the IRS. His Majesty's Royalty and Customs. If you ever see HMRC involved in a story involving sports in Britain, 4 letters you don't want. That's opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com. That's your QR code. Once again, for those who are watching either on the 280-character app on Twitch or on our YouTube channel, once again, use the code SoccerDownHere15. You get 15% off your purchase. They in turn take 10%, reinvested into youth games, youth initiatives. Very, very cool stuff from our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. All right, housekeeping. Later today, 5:30 and 7:30, part of the Classico that is in Whitfield County. Maddie, Jason, and I will be at Chapel Harmon. And we will catch up with our friends at Dalton, the Catamounts. You heard them on Friday night, ending Johnson Gainesville's 31-match unbeaten streak. Won at Johnson Gainesville 2-1. Crazy game. And you can listen to it on our in our archive over at our Mixler channel. SoccerDownHere.mixlr.com. That's where all of our live stuff starts. That's where it ends. You want to listen to a game in the past? Go to the Mixler site. Go to soccerdownhere.net. You can click on it. You can follow the banners. It takes you to the Mixler site there too. But soccerdownhere.mixler.com is where we have all of our live events. 5:30 and 7:30, it is Northwest Whitfield and Dalton from Chapel Harmon in Dalton. Really looking forward to seeing the environment up there. And Omar Hernandez from Dalton High School, 2019 Gatorade National Player of the Year. Did a 1v1 with him. He has signed with Chattanooga Red Wolves. Got him to talk about what soccer means to that particular pocket of the state, Northwest Georgia, and so on. So Omar got to talk about it a little bit, and we're going to be there tonight, 5:30, 7:30 for the Tuesday night throwdown, brought to us by our friends at Kaiser Permanente, Subaru of Gwinnett, Reverb by Hard Rock, Alliance Nurse Corp. All of our friends that are great supporters of soccer on all levels here in the Soccer Down Here footprint. 5:30 and 7:30. Girls go first, boys at 7:30. It's part of the Classico that's up there in Whitfield County, Northwest Whitfield and Dalton. Can't wait to be up there tonight to see that environment, and it's going to be fun. We'll let you know where our Friday match is when we've got it secured. And once again, that'll be a doubleheader, probably another 5:30 and 7:30. So we'll keep an eye on that as we go. Also, once again, we got some things that you can help out others with. And one of those is the scarf. And I'm going to keep letting you know about the scarf and our friends from the Marshall Islands. So there's the scarf right there. That helps out the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation. This week, we mentioned that they were making some exploratory meetings and such. They're going to be in Northwest Arkansas this week. They're flying over there. They should be there now because I think there's like meetings upon meetings upon meetings. And they're touring Northwest Arkansas, catching up with the Marshallese. And they can't do it without your help. They want to come back in October and have some team activities in Northwest Arkansas and be there in the Four Corners in Oklahoma, Northwest Arkansas, Missouri, and Kansas, where most of the Marshallese are housed here, and they live in the United States. So you can help out the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation from the ground up, be a part of something to help continue to grow the game in Micronesia and grow the game in general. You can grow the game here in the U.S. through the Marshallese people, and you can help out the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation with the scarf that Maddie has modeled so well and that Liz shot so well. You can go to the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation. They actually have an app. You can go to their website too. But to get the scarf, it's a summer scarf. Ropes has one. He can vouch for it. What you can do, 32, and you want the Abstermobile to drop it off to you, she will. She'll let you know if she can get there or not. She wants to go in the Abstermobile. She wants to see everybody. So then it's also in the Discord, so you can look at it in Discord. If you want it shipped to you, it's like another $5 for the Postal Service. So 32, you see Abby. 32 and 5, it gets shipped to you. You get to help out from the ground level, help out and grow the game for the last country on the planet that is trying to get a national soccer team up and running. They had futsal cups late January, early February. Our friend Justin Wally was there for that, and he's back home in Eastern Europe. And we are efforting Matt Webb, the Director of Communications, and Lloyd Hours, the Technical Director for the Marshall Islands. They are in Northwest Arkansas, efforting them 10 o'clock Thursday morning to get the update about all the meetings and how things have been. And we get to catch up with them hopefully Thursday morning in the 10 o'clock hour Eastern time. We can catch up with them there. So Discord gives you the details. You get to fill out the forms. You can send me money. You can Venmo it to me. You can PayPal it to me. We can figure it out. 32 helps out the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation. Summer scarf. Abby delivers it. 32 and 5. It gets sent to you in the mail or sent wherever you like to go in the mail. Sent one to Alabama the other day. So once again, you get to help out your friends at the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation by picking up the summer scarf, and you get to do that here at SDH. Okay, now, I don't know, Dell. That's a good question. Dell's asking if Abby delivers in Charleston in person. I don't know. That's a question for Abby and the Abstermobile. Maybe you can get them both. Maybe you can get Abby down there to do some vacationing, and she can come and hang out with you and tailgate at Patriots Point, and she can shake your hands. Or if you want the scarf quickly, we can mail it to you. You can wear it. You can show it off. And Abby and I are also coordinating about doing some things on match days too. So once again, hey, Abby might want to drive and come down and see you in Patriots Point. So no plans of visiting Charleston anytime soon. Okay, so it'd have to be shipped. But there it is. But you can help out. You can help out the Marshall Islands as we are here at SDH. Okay, so good morning, Abby. Good morning, Tom. Let's see. Who else is here? Morning, Alex. Morning, Dell. Morning, David. Yes. And getting into the opening kickoff, as David says, as friend of the show, Nick likes to say, the tax man is undefeated. That is absolutely true. Undefeated. Yes, Dell, you can be the Charleston ambassador for the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation. Yes, you can. So you know what the scarf looks like, and you know what the cause is. So looking forward to helping out the Marshall Islands, and we always will, because it is a growing story, and we're not just in this at the beginning. We're in this to see it grow and flourish and be a part of things in Oceania and Micronesia. Okay, last night, for those of you that were up late, Abby was not. It was not pretty, but you got to give all the credit in the world to Latry. Carson, California, last night on Paramount Plus. Side note, are any of you who have Paramount Plus having the same buffering issues that I did watching the match last night? Just curious. So last night, you end up with Latry knocking off the United States women's national team in the last match of the group stage in the W Gold Cup. Here's how it happened. We got your goals courtesy of our friends at CONCACAF and Paramount Plus. And it was a mistake early on, and Mexico going long, creating an opportunity, putting it in the back of the net, and it was Ovalle that made it 1-0.
4-0 win over Argentina.
The Leon player, one of the U.S. players that are not in the NWSL.
Oh, that's trouble. Ovalle. Ovalle's got Nair out of the box, and Ovalle! Mexico 1, USA 0.
That was that quick. Jacqueline Ovalle in the 38th minute. Mexico goes long over the top. Becky Sauerbrun's having to backtrack, and with her back to the rest of the field of play, tries to swing around and volley it away from the 18. It ends up going right into the chest of Ovalle. She chests it down. She chips Alyssa Nair from 20 yards out, and that made it 1-0. Then it was still 1-0. Twyla Kilgore makes a double sub at the half, change formation, trying to draw more out. Didn't work. Second half injury time. This happens. Mayra Pelayo, Florida, born and bred, formerly a part of the youth national team program, gets this into the back of the net that solidified the victory that made it Dos a Cero, but not the kind of Dos a Cero that you want if you're a fan of the USWNT.
Comes Pelayo, who had that rocket of a shot that went off. Nair's just shaking again, and she scores! Pelayo! Mexico 2, USA 0, stoppage time scorcher.
Oh my God, it's well deserved by Mexico. Mayra Pelayo just getting perfectly that angle, knowing precisely what she could do against one of the greatest goalkeepers from the U.S., not doubting any second of herself, takes her time. She has the mark, but no, she still gets a way to do that technical.
There you go. So thanks to our friends at CONCACAF. 2-0 the win in front of 11,612 in the lower bowl in Carson, California. Dos a Cero final. First win over the United States in 14 years. Second win all time in 41 meetings. First time the Americans have lost to CONCACAF opposition at home since the year 2000. That's what happened last night in Carson, California. 62% possession. Finished the night being outshot 14-9. 2 shots on goal, if you believe in XG. A 1/3 XG, 0.33 from our friends at Opta. U.S. finished second in the group. They do qualify for the quarters, but once again, we don't know what is going to happen, who's going to do what, because you end up with folks qualifying and making their way in through being third-place teams and all that. We still don't know matchups for the quarterfinals yet, but USA does not win the group, finishing second place behind Group A winners Mexico. Our friends at Soccer America, as we always do, Soccer America gives you their thoughts on what happened. And Bart, to be perfectly honest, I don't know if Bart's okay. I do not know. Bart is probably at his real job and wearing all black and mumbling in tongues and doing a lot of things. So, Abby, unable to go be at the watch party, unsure if he's okay. I bet he's PO'd. Like I said, that's why we put out the bat signal to Bart. So if at any time this morning Bart can get away from the real world and come in and talk about this, he can get the chance to vent his spleen. So basically, bat signals out for Bart, and he can come in and talk about it if he wants to. The short answer, Dell's asking if Emma Hayes has started yet. Yes, she's still working and doing things with Chelsea, but and while we have Twyla Kilgore still a substitute teacher, you would have to think that Emma Hayes is trying to put her stamp on things through Twyla Kilgore. So I'm guessing that, I don't know what happened in match last night. I don't know if, say, at 3:30 in the morning, Emma Hayes is WhatsApping Twyla Kilgore, 3:30 her time. Say 10:45, so almost 4 o'clock in the morning. Say 4 o'clock in the morning, London time. I don't know if Emma Hayes is up. She probably was. And I don't know if she's WhatsApping Twyla Kilgore and the staff or not. I don't know what the situation was at halftime, and I don't know what interactions were, or if this was just, okay, coach, here's your plan. Here's what I'd like to see, and please implement it there in Carson, California. Like I said, I don't know what chain of command was, if it was just Twyla Kilgore. Okay, so Abby got a text from Bart. Tired and cranky. Not necessarily a surprise. So the match ratings, once again, courtesy of our friends at Soccer America, who traditionally can be a little on the harsh side, but we'll see. Alyssa Nair got a 5 in her 99th cap. Soccer America is saying that Nair reclaimed her spot as first-string keeper. Most of the match put in a respectable display, including a double save in the 80th against Pelayo and Jasmine Casadas. So they say one could argue she had to rush out of her box to pressure Ovalle for the opening goal, even if it left her exposed to the chip. I think she had to. She had to go out and challenge. And I think that you give Ovalle full credit for having presence to find an opening and chip over Nair and put it in the back of the net. So full credit to Ovalle for the imagination there. I think Alyssa Nair had to come out and challenge on that first goal. And so Ovalle, great presence of mind to step to the side or at least find enough space where he could get it chipped over Nair and into the net. So they gave Nair a 5. Defenders. Absence of Naomi Girma, who Bart is quite fond of, greatly felt. Not only, and this is Soccer America's words, not only did the defense crumble under Mexico's high press, but there was nowhere near enough ball progression or connection from the center backs on the ball. Becky Sauerbrunn was at fault for the opening goal when she miscontrolled the harmless-looking boot out of the Mexico midfield. The moment that truly sunk fear into the USA players and its fan base. USWNT legend looked off-tempo, off-rhythm, and put in an incredibly rare level of display for a player of her repute. Emily Fox, one of the most culpable players for giving up space to Mexico's tenacious wingers. Asked to invert and cut back in the first half, and the second went back to being an overlapping wide threat. Neither version worked. When Fox was being tasked with coming inside to generate passing combinations with Sam Coffey, that could be easily have been a better role for Crystal Dunn. Instead, the Gotham player ineffectual as Mexico's wings pinned back their opponents. Dahlkemper was perhaps the least disappointing of the group defensively, too often failed to be press resistant. Dunn and Dahlkemper got 5s. Becky Sauerbrunn got a 3. Emily Fox got a 4. Midfield. Lining up in a 4-3-3 to start, Sam Coffey. Single pivot. First half, Haran and Rose Lavelle stationed as attacking central midfielders. Gaps open between the lines, passes misplaced, combination play non-existent. Lavello finished the match without taking a single shot. Once again, this is how it was phrased by Soccer America. Went down blind alleys, and Coffey bypassed teammates by looping hopeful through balls into a crowded box. Second half, Kilgore switched to a 4-2-3-1 to try and help Coffey get more control, push Horan into a box threat, get Lavelle attacking. None of the changes improved the midfield performance greatly. Trio lacked tempo and purpose, and therefore couldn't push Mexico's shape around by passing and moving. In an area where the U.S. was expected to thrive, Horan and Coffey's set pieces also lacked any incision throughout. Coffey and Lavelle a 4, Lindsey Horan a 3. Forwards, Trinity Rodman was the best outlet. America's best 2 chances created, cleared off the line in the 77th. Sophia Smith and Lynn Williams hooked at halftime. Neither registered an attempt on goal in the first 45. Not the most erroneous players on the field, even so that felt harsh, pulling them after 45 minutes. Smith is the last line of defense, made a good tackle on a set piece. Williams failed to press Mexico into any errors off the ball. Smith and Williams got 4s. Trinity Rodman got a 5. Emily Sonnet, Alex Morgan come in at the half. Late cameos, Jaden Shaw and Midge Purse. Sonnet got a 5, Morgan got a 5, Jaden Shaw, Corbin, Albert, Midge Purse got 4s. Ovalle's goal for Mexico ended a run of 33 straight shutouts for the women's national team in CONCACAF competitions. Stars and Stripes scored 158 goals in those matches. First ever defeat in the state of California, 56 matches. Ends an unbeaten streak of 80 straight home matches against CONCACAF opposition, 78 of those wins, the other 2 draws. Seeded from 1 to 8 ahead of the weekend quarters, learn their matchup either Saturday or Sunday after the group stage finishes tonight. So basically, the United States will not have played for a week waiting to find out who their opponent is. Shots, 13-9 Mexico. Shots on target, 4-1 Mexico. Saves, 2 by Nair. Corner kicks, 9-1 Mexico. 9 fouls each, 18 total. 3 offsides for the U.S. Possession, 2-1 to the United States. Meg Linehan this morning at The Athletic. Here's her title of her column. USWNT's loss to Mexico was a jarring reminder that the team's mystique is gone. Hadn't lost to Mexico in that moment since 2010. Hadn't lost any CONCACAF opponent at home since 2000. Outplayed. Didn't match the low. This is Linehan. Did not match the low of the goalless draw against Portugal in the World Cup group stage last summer. Team's final group stage match. So this Gold Cup was hopefully a helpful reminder the team hasn't found their new cohesive identity just yet. Thing that should worry fans the most is how Monday's performance was a reflection of the listless women's national team that we've seen before. But how much should we read into the 270 minutes played this year? How much does a loss change what needs to happen ahead of the Olympics? And why is cohesion such a massive problem? Mexico deserves full credit, Linehan says, and they should. They do. Nothing but praise for executing in all the places that matter. USWNT failed in many of those places. Failure can be helpful if used correctly. However, that's been the takeaway for this U.S. team for a while now. At some point, the players and the coaching staff either step up or they don't. Alex Morgan comes in after the break. Linehan says that doesn't tell Kilgore or Emma Hayes anything about the team. Ever a time, if the Meg Linehan posits, if there was ever a time to let the team's young players problem solve in a difficult situation, it was last night when you're down 1-0. So then what do? You bring in Alex Morgan at the break. The USWNT mystique is gone, and the rising level of the rest of the world is only part of the story. We've been talking about this for a while. It is not the U.S. and everybody else. This has been the same for 6 years. The margins are closing. We talked about it under Vlatko Andonovski. There was a reliance on older players. There is a reliance on older players. And you wonder when those transitions are going to happen where you let the next generation do their thing. Yes, there are going to be instances where you have a blending of the players that are still, worthy of doing things on the international stage and the younger players that they're trying to learn. That's the hook right now for Emma Hayes and Twyla Kilgore, is trying to figure out what that mix is to continue to succeed on the world stage, grow the younger players, and still have that veteran presence. But this has been an age top-heavy team for a while. And you wondered, and then we've seen it, that there have been instances where the world has caught up to the United States. Still ranked number 2 in the world. Linehan is saying that they should perhaps harness the anger for good as it sits in Joy's place. You want to manage Naomi Girma's load, it makes sense to have her out there, according to what Linehan is saying. Girma has been through a World Cup, was the USWNT's best player in New Zealand and Australia by a comfortable margin. Kilgore after the match. Something tonight that was missing was just a bit of bravery from the center backs and willingness to play forward. Regardless of how many numbers we have in front of the back line, the expectation is that we look to play forward passes, keep the ball moving, and, of course, sometimes requires a balance and it comes back, but do we want to play forward? Kelly O'Hara said Monday the team had sometimes been stuck within certain formations and tactics over the last couple of years. And the performance against Mexico had the same feel as some of the team's more frustrating recent performances. On a night like Monday, Linehan says it feels like the WNT's clinging to the very identity they need to shed, and some of the beautiful principles of play that are great in theory sometimes need to go out the window when a game calls for it. Hayes not being present until May still isn't ideal on a number of fronts, simply a fact the USWNT's got to deal with. Federation made this agreement. Teams dealing with the ramifications of playing under an interim head coach stationed a continent away a few months before a major tournament. Not ideal and not something that can be changed. So what can you do when it comes to starting 11s, playing time? You had some folks playing 2 or 3. Twyla Kilgore did say that they were going to rotate, and she did do that. Asked whether the rotation idea backfired. She said the whole group's prepared to play. Whole group was prepared to play tonight. We could have gone with several options. This was the group that we chose. I'm very confident the group is capable of executing. Kilgore said it's important for all players to have opportunities in this tournament, but also important for the team to execute. Not just about partnerships, it's about systems, roles, and responsibilities. Linehan wraps up her piece by saying, Gold Cup still feels like the right place for experimentation, evaluation, and rotation, but if you're going to do it, you have to actually commit. So now we have the national team in the in-betweens. The national team is in the in-betweens. Maddie, what's up?
I just have thoughts.
Well, that's why you have the master switch when you can come in at any time.
Listen, I get the roster rotation. I understand, switching it out. I get it. Why do you save it for the last game of the group when it's arguably one of our biggest rivals?
Mm-hmm.
And one of the teams in our group that, actually has a chance of beating us? Why would you rotate then? Why didn't you rotate when we beat that past other 2 teams more than 5 goals? It doesn't make any sense to me. Mm-hmm. I don't understand. Maybe it's just me, not being a coach and I just don't understand. But to me, I'm like, we beat the Dominican Republic 5-0. We did the same thing against Argentina. Why would you not? I don't know, maybe then sit there and be like, okay, let me rotate. Let me figure out, let's rest some players, get them ready for Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
That's just what I'm not understanding. I'm like, it also too, I even echoed Bart's thing. I saw it this morning because I was watching the game while working on prep for lacrosse. I was multitasking very, very heavily last night. But echoing what Bart said, why would you not start Naomi Girma? She's arguably one of our best center backs.
Mm-hmm.
For a team like Mexico that has such a great offensive press,
yep,
you need someone who is very solid in that back line to be able to stop it. And I think we missed her last night. 110%.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't have anyone in the back line to really defend and, stop Mexico from making those chances. But again, all credit to Mexico. Mexico came out and played phenomenal. They really showed up, and I loved it. I thought it was fun. And the sentiment also too, I think that's just annoying is, it's been the narrative for so long that the US women's national team is like the only like successful women's soccer league or like national team.
Mm-hmm.
That's just not true anymore. It hasn't been for a while. There are other states, other countries, countries. Oh my Lord.
Mm-hmm.
There are different countries that are developing women's soccer in a good way, in a phenomenal way. And I don't know. I just, it's annoying. It's annoying because we have so much talent on our roster, and it felt like we relied heavily on our veteran players, and we still are. When I'm sorry. Like, why? If you had the roster, if everyone was able to play, why did you put Alex Morgan in 45 minutes against Mexico?
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't make any sense to me. That's me getting on my soapbox. But
Nothing wrong with the soapbox.
Nothing wrong with getting on the soapbox. I hope that at least going forward into the quarterfinals, because now it's going to be harder because we're going to play whoever is, I believe it's group 2 or the runner-up in group 2. I believe that's who we're playing, and we don't find that out until the rest of the group stage is completed by Wednesday.
Right.
So we won't know anything yet. But I mean, going to the quarterfinals, you have to reevaluate. You have to sit there and be like, okay, how are we going to go forward? Like, what needs to change? What strategies need to go forward? And we need to figure out a solid area of where we're going to play, because we did not play the best against Mexico. And we're going to have a lot more opponents going into the rest of the quarterfinals for the World Cup that are exactly like Mexico. It's going to get harder.
And don't think the tape ain't getting out either.
No, the tape's out there.
Uh-huh.
The tape's ready to go. If you want a blueprint for how to beat the U.S. women's national team, Mexico did it last night. And so you have to reevaluate. You have to sit there and be like, okay, how can we go forward? How can we get players up there? And how can we score goals? How can we stop these players, these teams who are going to try to press us? And you just need that. Like, I'm not saying that the veteran leadership is not needed. It is. It's needed. But I don't think we should rely just solely on those players. We have a lot of young talent. And if this is an opportunity to showcase them, let's showcase them. Put them out there. Let's see them, because I don't know.
But the question is, what is more important to you right now? In the grander scheme of things, what is more important to you? Is it winning the Gold Cup or getting ready for the Olympics and future tournaments and getting this next wave of talent for the women's national team up and running and out there and hitting at 100 miles an hour? What is more important? And then you're going to come in there and you're going to say, well, the answer is both. But you're trying to navigate that answer of choice D, all the above, with Twyla Kilgore, who is taking marching orders, I would imagine, from Emma Hayes.
Mm-hmm.
And you're having older players. Once again, it's that whole thing of, okay, you've got this talented young group of players, and you can't get them playing time unless you sit the veterans, but you need the veterans to help you win. So right now, and this is something that's happened in the last couple of calendar years, the U.S. women's national team is caught in a catch-22. You can't win everything if you don't play your veterans, but you can't advance your team to its next levels with its younger players if you don't play your veterans, and you risk not winning everything. That's where you are right now.
Oh, yeah. It's totally a balancing game. Like, it's you have one or the other. You can't win either way. So it's hard. And I mean, to answer your question about which one's more important, obviously both are important. I think, though, the development will probably be more focused on the Olympics, solely because that's when it's going to be where Emma Hayes really steps up and is the head coach. And we're going to get to see her coaching style and how this team's going to play. I think Kilgore's been doing a phenomenal job. I think she's been a great interim head coach. But, it's hard when the coach that you're supposed to have is obviously overseas, still doing a lot of other things. So it's hard for that that discretion to happen. I think what's annoying to me though is it's just the first 2 games of this tournament we played outstanding. We had people getting forward. We had people doing this. And then the game against Mexico was when we decided, oh, we're going to take a step back. It's a balancing act completely. I just don't know where this line is. And it's hard to really decipher it because it's hard. I would say the focus would be on the Olympics because we get to see Emma Hayes finally, and we get to see what she wants to do, and we get to really see her as a coach, which I'm excited for. But I still think this Gold Cup is important. You want trophies. That's the whole point of this. You want trophies. And I think the Gold Cup shouldn't be overlooked. I don't think we should be treating it like it's it's the Gold Cup. Like, I think we should be wanting to win, and I think they do want to win. But, we have to reevaluate going forward. How can we win? Because the competition's getting harder.
Yeah.
It's getting harder, and it's not going to get easier. So how can we come out there and be a strong and united U.S. women's national team on the pitch?
Welcome to the catch-22 that is international soccer.
Oh, yeah. It's a fun conversation. We always have fun over here.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, that's the thing. I need you and your fancy editing skills to take care of something for me.
Okay.
And I just sent it to you. And
I see it.
It is an update to yesterday. And so we will talk about this after, and it's a Brendan Rodgers update. So we'll talk about it after you have pulled this audio and we can post it. So go ahead when you edit it, since you have, and this is live producing. When you've got it done, go ahead and upload it into the background music section of the producer platform.
I got you.
Go ahead and chop it and upload it, and we'll talk about it when it's chopped and uploaded. But before you do that, I want to wrap up hour number 1 with yesterday and the U.S. Soccer press conference at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. You and Jason were there catching up with U.S. Soccer. What were some of the greatest hits that you took away from that?
Ooh, I mean, a lot of it was just talking about, the World Cup. It was talking about, obviously, it's their cycle of, trying to bid for the 2027 World Cup, the Women's World Cup here. It's the bid between the United States and Mexico. Kind of similar to the bid for, obviously, the World Cup in 2026 minus Canada. Canada is not in there. It's just them two. It was just a lot of just talking about the bid and how FIFA reacted to the stadium and, starting off. And it was great, just especially the development of U.S. soccer as a whole. We obviously talked about it being here. And one of the biggest things that I took away was, a question was asked, and we'll play that clip here in a second, but why Atlanta? Why start the bid? Why start the tour in Atlanta? And I loved what the president, Cindy, had to say about it. But I also love too, it's going to be the home of women of U.S. soccer. Here in Atlanta, it's going to be it.
So here's what Cindy Parlow-Cohn had to say about starting the rock and roll tour. So maybe they'll print a T-shirt that folks can buy. The viewing tour for the 27 World Cup. Here's Cindy Parlow-Cohn yesterday at Mercedes-Benz Stadium.
I think many reasons why we started in Atlanta. One, it is going to be U.S. soccer's new home. And this is a very important city to me as well. In addition, I started my career here with the 96 Olympics and then also played for the Atlanta Beat here. So this city is very close to me and really means a lot to me. But this city has done so much for soccer, and look what Arthur Blank has done with Atlanta United. And so they've welcomed us with open arms, and I think it was really important to start in our home city of Atlanta and really showcase what we can do and show them all the stadiums in the U.S. and as well as in Mexico.
So there you go. Cindy Parlow-Cohn yesterday at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Apparently also it was announced at the press conference that it looks like they're going to be breaking ground for the National Training Center in the next couple of weeks. So Really looking
that
forward.
was what we were told. Obviously there's still like logistics of when that's going to happen. But that was the timeline that he gave us. Said in the next couple weeks they're going to announce something very soon, which is very exciting. That's pretty cool. You know, the groundbreaking is going to be happening pretty soon here in Atlanta. It's just so cool. Like a lot of it yesterday was just us talking about how awesome it is that it's here in Atlanta. Like, you know, this is the home of US soccer. Like, could you imagine ever saying that? Like, that's crazy. Like, that's insane. We're going to have people like coming from all over to like, you know, come train here, to come do stuff. And not even the development of just, you know, the men's and the women's team. It's the youth side as well. The other teams they have, you know, the US deaf national team, the US SP, the cerebral palsy team, you know, like they're all going to be here. It's going to be really cool. Like this is the home. This is where players are going to come. They're going to live here. They're going to stay here and they're going to compete here. And that's pretty cool. It's pretty exciting.
Yeah, really looking forward to it. And very, very cool stuff. Yesterday, just to let everybody else know, once again, a bid has not been yet submitted by potential host sites. U.S.-Mexico bids going up against Germany, Belgium, Holland, and then a third from Brazil. Remember, Germany hosted in 2011. Brazil has never hosted, and the U.S. hosted back in 99 and 2003, potentially one of 8 cities, according to Doug Robertson of the AJC, in the U.S., along with 5 in Mexico. Atlanta was the first site visited. And that's what I meant by printing out the rock and roll T-shirt, you know, the tour T-shirt, you know, U.S. Soccer Federation / FMF Tour 2024, and you start listing all the cities and the dates. JT Batson mentioned what you were talking about, the CEO for U.S. Soccer, about excited Atlanta given the new home, an incredible stadium, big opportunity to show what's going on here. At least 10 cities included in the bid. Some will also be hosting, obviously, the 26 World Cup. And Cindy Parlow-Cohn mentioned in the soundbite, you know, everything that's been done. Remember, she was here with the Beat, and she has history. She knows what's going on. FIFA scheduled to vote on the host site May the 17th in Thailand. And remember, She Believes Cup is early April. April 6th, U.S., Canada, Brazil, Japan competing. Second round winners. The winners in the consolation are going to be played at lower.com in Columbus, Ohio. The matches in Atlanta have already set a tournament record for ticket sales. So, once again, surprising no one, as of 2 weeks ago, this is a 2 weeks ago number, more than 26,500 seats have been sold and distributed for She Believes at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, with the U.S. playing Japan, Canada playing Brazil, April 6th. So it was 2017-2020 at Red Bull Arena in Harrison, New Jersey. The She Believes record, 26.5. More than that's already been sold, and you've got all of March and walk-up to blow 26.5 out of the water. So stadium can be open to full. What would be really intriguing is to see a very, very loud lower bowl of about 41,000 for those 2 matches, just to see what it would sound like in that environment. And yes, and Abby, you're right on. Abby's like, we need to sell out those matches, still need to get people to buy them. So getting closer. Ivan Cisniega, who's the president of the FMF, the Football Federation of Mexico, believes the joint bid will be successful because both countries have popular women's leagues, which speaks to the success the countries have in promoting the sport. And legitimately, if you think about it, it should be a slam dunk, because a lot of these markets will have already had the infrastructure in place from hosting matches from the 26 World Cup. So think about for a second what the next couple of years could be like here at SDH HQ here in Atlanta. Copa America, the Club World Cup in 25. Then you got World Cup in 26. Possibly, probably, maybe, fairly certain that you'd have the Women's World Cup here in 27. That's not a bad run, is it?
No, that's great. Are you kidding? That's amazing. I mean, it's so cool. And I mean, even too, this She Believes Cup, you got Copa America. Like, it's so cool. It's so freaking cool. Like, I as someone who's been born and raised here in Atlanta, obviously, like, I I kind of got spoiled and lucky a little bit since I obviously was here when Atlanta United was first established and everything. But it's been so cool getting to see this development, and as someone who, hopefully wants to continue being a part of this soccer journey here, especially in Atlanta, like that's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. And so I'm excited. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it is. And we'll follow it every step of the way. So if you would listen to the response from the story yesterday, which we will go back over and add the new Brendan Rodgers sound to it coming up in just a little bit. So, Maddie, I know as you are going to be listening to Brendan Rodgers, how you're going to feel about it, but just please persevere and go ahead and put it in the queue for us. And so when you're ready, hop back in and we will duck back out and talk about Brendan Rodgers.
I will be able to. I'll bite my tongue. I will do it.
Well,
I will do it for SDH.
Hey, you're on mute when you're editing, so you don't have to worry about biting your tongue while you edit. But we'll play the comment in its entirety. And we thought we'd heard it from Brendan yesterday. We heard from Brendan again today, and so we will play that coming up in short order. Maddie, talk to you in a bit.
All right, I will return.
All right, there's Maddie, and so she's gonna flip this Brendan Rodgers sound from this morning, and it's about what we figured. So once again, not really a surprise. Also on the board this morning, we had some news out of the USL. Normally, if I'd covered this at the beginning of the show, it would get the breaking news sounder. So maybe I give it the short one. I don't know. Debating what to do to promote said piece. I'm going to see if we could do this. Yeah, so that's where it came up, and it also came up in emails. Yep, Dell, it's the TV deal. And the TV deal is as follows for USL. USL in the four-letter announced a new multi-year media rights agreement that will see more than 400 live matches per year of the USL Championship and League One air on four-letter platforms starting this season. The season's coming up in about 10 days. So this was good to get this in place. Infrastructure is already in place for those of us that have the Plus, so we could watch it already. Quote from friend of the show, Court Jeske, who's the chief commercial officer and enjoyed a long-standing relationship with ESPN, during which the USL has grown significantly. Incredibly excited to continue the relationship. The 9th year of USL matches on the four-letter this year, upcoming. Longest-running professional soccer organization currently featured on ESPN platforms. One of the first properties available on the Plus when the streaming service launched back in 2018. ESPN will be the exclusive home of the League One Cup competition. Remember, this year, League One, they're down to 22 matches in league. Then what to do to come in line with the number of matches in USL Championship as a way to possibly have discussions in future years about USL Championship and League One involved in this cup competition and make it a universal league USL competition. And possibly the discussion of Pro Rel, where you get the same number of matches and such. But to align USL League One kind of in a scheduling way with number of matches with the championship, they have this League One Cup competition this year. Outside the purview of the regular schedule, they get to battle each other in a cup. And winner gets a cup, and they're chasing after a sponsor. All group stage matches, playoffs, and the final, streaming on the Plus. Takes place throughout the year, and according to the release, creates additional matches of consequence in the annual calendar, which is true. Non-traditional modifications that encourage attacking soccer, provide entertaining moments, penalty kicks to decide matches throughout the tournament, total goals scored as the first standings tiebreaker. You can go to the USL and get more info. Completes the USL's media package heading into the 24 season, which includes CBS Sports and local linears. 35 matches on national linear television between CBS Sports and ESPN networks, up from 9 last year. So it's 400% increase. Full national broadcast schedule out in the next coming days. And the USL in their release says that they have retained flexibility for clubs to air a significant number of local linear broadcasts, giving fans more ways than ever to support their club. Rhode Island enters the USL Championship with our buddy Parkey. Spokane Velocity enters in USL League One. So League One schedule's out, Championship schedule's out, TV deal now out with the 4-letter, and our friends at the USL. So USL Championship, USL League One, and the 4-letter on the plus. A lot of matches. They've got local linear available to them, and they've also got available to them CBS Sports. So good pickups for USL Championship and League One as they continue to grow with the Cup competition as well in USL League One. We'll see what happens there. But once again, about a week and a half away from the regular season start in USL League One, USL Championship. And so that means that next week on Thursday, we're going to have our buddy Kaylor Hodges. And I'm putting out the bat signal now. I don't know if Kaylor's listening, but you might need to. So Kaylor, next week, you're on the show, previewing everything. So there it is. All right. So that's your news out of the USL. Other stuff going on. We got news of the morning. Also got the stuff that happened in Major League Soccer, regardless of what we talked about with Atlanta United. Like I said, if there's anything else Atlanta United based, we can talk about that. Other matches in week number 1, just kind of going through what happened last week. And remember, tonight you've got the start of the second legs of the CONCACAF Hemispheric Extravaganza. Triple header on FS2. 6 o'clock, Orlando and Cavalry from Inter & Co. Stadium. I can't wait for the Miami matchup. That's at 6. Chester, Philadelphia, and Saprissa. Oliver Semley will be in net for the Union. Andre Blake still not healthy enough. And at 10:30 at Hell in a Shell, it is Houston hosting All Caps. So you've got the back end of the second legs of this particular round, 6, 8:15, and 10:30. So Houston drew the short end of the stick. They got a 9:30 local start tonight. And so triple header FS2, and we'll figure out the rest of them coming up at the end of the show when we talk about what to watch, where to watch it, and how. And tomorrow you've got other matchups as well. But this past weekend in Major League Soccer, looking at what went down. LAFC beat Seattle 2-1. Probably one of the, obviously it was one of those matchups that you're really looking forward to when the weekend started. Did not disappoint. Charlotte over NYC by the final of 1-0 in front of more than 60,000 at Bank of America. One of the big notes there, 16-year-old Nimfasa Berkimis, who, for those of you that listened to our broadcasts of the twos last year, got to get to see what Berkimis is all about when he came to town for Crown Legacy, and then when the twos played Crown Legacy up at Matthews. So Nimfasa Berkimis, at 16 years old, gets in for Charlotte FC. DC over New England by the score of 3-1. Christian Benteke had a hat trick. That I did not have on my week 1 bingo card. And I'd love to know what the defense for New England was doing on the third goal that seemed to be just like backing away and backing into the net as Benteke scored. So DC put 3 on the board against New England, and I know that Shooter has yet to recover. Orlando and Montreal, a goalless draw. And I would say that obviously if you're a fan of the purple team, you're frustrated because you looked at Montreal and you're like, come on, we can take these guys. Laurent Courtois had other ideas. And I think that this is something where Montreal's defense will be there ahead of their offense. So do not anticipate a whole lot of goals being scored against Montreal, although I would say toward the end of this long road trip to start the season, since they're not allowed to do anything inside the Big O, everything has to be at Stade Saputo. They can't even practice at the Olympic Stadium. Everything early is on the road for CF Montreal. Goalless draw, frustrating our friends of the purple team. Goalless draw there. Solid point for Montreal on the road at Inter & Co. Philadelphia and Chicago in a crazy one ended up at a 2-2 final. And in this one, Gutierrez scores in the 39th, 1-0 Chicago at the break. Didn't have that on the card. Then you end up with Ua scoring in the 55th to make it 1-1. And you're thinking, okay, 1-1, and Philadelphia is going to, find a way. Fabian Erbers scores with 8 to go. And everyone who was watching the early matches, including our friends at MLS 360 and our buddy Kevin Egan, they were locked in on that game at that point. Chicago leading in Philadelphia 2-1. And then, of course, after one goal is pulled away with a flag, I think it was a flags up. 90+3, Daniel Gazdag scores, 2-2 draw. Philadelphia escapes with a point. And once again, Semley was in net for that. Andre Blake did not start. So Philadelphia escapes with a point at home against Chicago. Not a sentence I thought I would be discussing here early in the week. Philadelphia and Chicago, a 2-2 draw. Good point on the road for Chicago Fire. Minnesota over Austin, 2-1 at Q2. And Minnesota had legitimately a 2-0 lead going into stoppage time. Robin Lod scored first half. Brand scores at 90+1. Bureau scores at 90+5. And it's a 2-1 win for Minnesota on the road. Did not have that on the card at all. Did not have that on the card. Stats on the day, 19 shots to 6 for Minnesota. Once again, did not have that on the card. 19 shots to 6, 10 shots on target. Brad Stuver had to come up big in some instances in the second half specifically. 19 shots, 10 on target. Only 6 for Austin, 2 on target. No Driussi in this one. Less total passes. And both teams, get this, both teams passed at under 80% accuracy. So basically, you had chaos. You had chaos. Corners, 16 corners for Minnesota. 16 corners for Minnesota. You got to be kidding me with this. And by the way, our long international nightmare is apparently over. Eric Ramsey is now the coach at Minnesota. That was announced yesterday. So Eric Ramsey is finally the new head coach for Minnesota United. From all indications, I think he is still coming after the Manchester Derby. It's like, yes, they announced him yesterday, and he served as a first-team coach under Eric Ten Hag. You get a big quote. You get the bio blast. Assistant coach Welsh national team. Khalid El Ahmad with a full sentence. And instead of now saying that he's going to be joining after the Manchester Derby, the official release says he's joining the club pending receipt of the work visa. So we all know about work visas. So pending the work visa, Eric Ramsey will be your new head coach of Minnesota United at the age of 32. No idea when he will be coming because of the work visa. But our long international nightmare is over. Minnesota United now has a new head coach. We just don't know when he's going to be there. But did not have Minnesota dominating Austin the way that they did statistically. Dallas over San Jose, 2-1. They get the win at home in Texas. Yaramendi in the 25th, Sealy at 90+4. After being down 1-0, Benji Kukanovic scores in the 6th minute. come back to win it 2-1. So win for Dallas at home. Houston and Kansas City up and down the field for 90 minutes, a 1-1 draw. Same for all caps and RSL. And then the one at the end of the night. Portland and Colorado. Portland, 3 goals on the board in the first 30 minutes. Eric Williamson in the 9th. Anthony 5 minutes later. And then again in the 29th minute. And then you end up with another goal late. I think it was an OG, if I remember. So it's 3-1, 4-1 final off an OG. Colorado scored in the 55th minute. Colorado looked absolutely shell-shocked. Absolutely shell-shocked. And coach of the match week obviously went to Phil Neville. Understandably so. The way that they took Colorado and just went up and down the field on them, and Colorado didn't seem to have any answers. And I'd love to know what Chris Armas was talking about at the half. I really would. 7 shots for Portland on the day, 3 shots on target. They all end up in the back of the net. 80% passing. You didn't need it. So Portland with the big win there. Then on Sunday, you had a handful of matches to get you through the weekend. And in those matches, Cincinnati and Toronto, a goalless draw. I don't know what to take out of that one. I really don't. Toronto has a weird formation and had Bernadeschi is like a wing back and things. I had no idea. They tried to stay as compact as possible and frustrate Cincinnati, and they did. Nashville and Red Bulls, a goalless draw there. And we talked about it with Bart yesterday. There was a moment in the late 20s where Sean Davis was given a red, went to review, came back. It was just a yellow card. Nashville did not have Sam Surridge in the lineup and did not have Hani Mukhtar in the lineup, and it showed. You wonder what their offense, are Surridge and Mukhtar, what their status is going to be for our buddy Lucas Panzica in the midweek going up against Mocha on Wednesday night. They're up 3-0. I would imagine that there's probably going to be some rotation. You might have Surridge and Mukhtar on the bench if they're healthy, if you need it. But I think that this round will be in complete control. After this round, it's Messi and friends for Nashville SC in the CONCACAF Hemispheric Extravaganza. And then LA and Miami, we talked about it yesterday. LAG and Messi and friends. LAG, Paintsel and Peck are going to be a problem. Paintsel, Peck, and Puig. It's a P3. I'm waiting for the poster now. LAG, you can thank me later. Pay me whatever you wish in royalties. Paintsel's going to be a problem. Gabriel Peck, with the way it started, Paintsel was on the right. Then Peck comes in as a substitute, and you end up with Paintsel on the left, the Bishop, Dejan Joveljic in the middle, Gabriel Peck on the right. That's going to be a problem for folks. And Ricky Puig pulling the strings. Could be something for Vanny there. If they don't, with this lineup, finish top 4, then something's wrong. And shocking no one, there's talk about a knee injury for Luis Suarez, in addition to the regular issues that Luis Suarez has with his knees, in addition to, because he was pulled with about 20 minutes to go. Didn't look happy about it. We went through Suarez's numbers yesterday with his productivity and touches and such. But there's a word of yet another an injury on top of his current status. So that's your rundown of everything that went down in Major League Soccer. So now the fun starts, and I say that. Let's recap. Let's go through this here. So yesterday, for those of you who might have missed it, Brendan Rodgers, when he had it was a post-match scrum, and it was 2 goals by substitutes late that gave Celtic a come-from-behind win at Motherwell. So then, after the match, he is having a Q&A with BBC Scotland reporter Jane Lewis, and this is the tail end of that conversation with Brendan Rodgers and Jane Lewis.
But you're the one that's bringing that
Yes,
up.
absolutely.
So can you not give us some more on it?
Done. Good girl. Well done. Cheers.
There you go. He's done.
Good girl.
Good girl.
Oh, gee. Wow.
Yeah, and that was the response. Good girl. And Abe Gordon had it right yesterday morning when we played it. And typically, that's something you say to your dog. And Brendan Rodgers said that to Jane Lewis of the BBC. And so today, Brendan Rodgers had a press conference. So let's all learn together about Brendan Rodgers and his response to the universal backlash for calling a female reporter a good girl, once again, courtesy of our friends at Celtic, their own selves, and all the various media sources that were there, BBC, etc. Here's Brendan Rodgers' response, day 2.
I've been obviously aware of it. I think, obviously, sadly, for me, I think in society now, we we're either looking to offend or find something that is offensive to try and pin on to people. I think you guys, since I've been up here, and I think any journalist or reporter or anyone in media, I've always based my life on relationships. So I've always offered a warmth, a respect, being courteous, and offering time to people, and that will never ever change. So obviously when there was that little bit that was out there, or big bit, however it was, then of course I feel the need to address that, because like I said, I deal with people in life, whether it's players, relationships with them. I want to help them become better. Like you say, people in the media. I've spoken to Jane, and she wasn't offended. We had a laugh about it. She'll continue to ask me awkward questions, I'm sure. But I see her every week, and we've got good relations. Like I said, like I have with most people in my life, whether that's professional or social. And the irony of it is, it's funny actually, because I shared with players there not so long ago the story of Jessica Watson. It was a young woman at 16 years of age, travelled around the world solo on a boat, and the documentary I watched was really inspiring. True Spirit, it was called, and I actually shared that with the players in terms of the inspiration they could take from a young woman like that, what she'd been through, everything else. So I find it saddening as much as anything, because one, I'm not that type of person. I could never be that. It's not how I'm built. But also sadden me for the society now, because people are just looking and trying to find ways to somehow bring you down if they can. And yeah, it's not nice.
Brendan Rodgers, when Jane Lewis was asked about it, in the getting all the responses here, our friends at STV, Jane Lewis, when she was asked about it, said there was no offense taken following the incident that happened on Sunday. Currently, the interview has become a talking point. I don't believe there was any offense meant by Brendan Rodgers, and for my part, there was none taken. So that's what Jane said after all of this has gone on over the last day or so. But you have Brendan Rodgers say that he. All right, so let me see if I can get the. Let me see. I want to get this square. Sadly for me in society now, we are either looking to offend or find something that is offensive to try and pin onto people. What Brendan Rodgers said was offensive. You don't say that. And for Brendan to seemingly double down, campaigners for Women's Scotland called for an apology, heavy criticism on apology. Sadly for me in society now, we are either looking to offend or find something that is offensive to try to pin on people. Brendan Rodgers said that. It is not something that he is referencing in a third-person deal or that somebody else said. Brendan Rodgers said what he said. Jane Lewis, to her credit, is taking the high road here, saying no offense, no offense taken. Brendan Rodgers, no offense meant. Jane Lewis, no offense taken. But the larger lesson here is that you don't say anything like this. You don't. Saddened me for society now because people are just looking and trying to find ways to somehow bring you down if they can. It's not nice. You're doing a fine job of that yourself. Instead of, I don't know, coming onto the dais and say, I should not have said what I said, you follow that up by wanting to deflect. Saddened me for society now because people are just looking and trying to find ways to somehow bring you down if they can. It's not nice. You double down on your comments instead of simply walking up there, sitting down, starting the press conference out. I don't know who was giving you advice in this situation. But here's what I would have done. I would have said, if I was your handler, sir, you pull him to the side. Okay, you got a press conference today, 10 o'clock local time or whatever, 11 o'clock local time. Here's what you do. Sir, off the top, you apologize. I meant no ill will. You say that things like that are not to be said in public to females under any circumstance. This is something that is not said. I apologize. I hope to learn from this. I hope to become a better person going forward. Something like that. Something that we've heard 1,000 times before in other situations. But instead, it also sad to me for the society now because people are just looking and trying to find ways to somehow bring you down if they can. It's not nice. So when you say to a female reporter, are we done, good girl? Obviously, you're supposed to say stuff like that. People are just looking and trying to find ways to somehow bring you down if they can. It's not nice. I think you were doing a pretty good job of that with your comments to Jane Lewis. So apparently, Brendan Rodgers is going to put his feet down right where they are. Basically, he doubled down. Talks about the kind of individual he is. Society now, we are either looking to offend or find something that is offensive to try and pin onto people. Okay, are we done? Well done, good girl, cheers. Looking to offend or find something that is offensive to try and pin onto people. I believe, sir, you pinned that onto yourself. Yet you feel no compulsion to apologize under any circumstance whatsoever and sit there and say, because she took no offense, it's okay. No offense meant, no offense intended, no offense taken. That's where we are with this in day 2. Yep, it was kickoff this morning. Almost was kickoff. It was a kickoff Monday morning. Nothing like starting a week like that. And it ends up being day 2 because he doubles down. We all remember what happened with David Moyes. David Moyes said some things akin to that, and he was not long for his job at the time. But now, Brendan Rodgers has decided to double down. So that's where we are. Read the transcript of what he said, the key paragraphs. You heard the long version of that. I wanted that to be the long version on purpose. So that way we can avoid any kind of looking at things in short sound bites. And that's the beauty of having a show of this length every single morning, where we can look at deep dives, we can look at topics and sit there and look at them and present all kinds of different context to things. So that's where we are with Brendan Rodgers. And when we have things continue like this, we'll obviously continue to shine light on them, because that what they say, that's always the best disinfectant. But back-to-back days, Brendan Rodgers disappoints. So the fact that it wasn't able to happen at the beginning of the show is the only reason that it didn't happen as opening kickoff for 2 days in a row. So I guess that's kind of kickoff for 2 days, just in different time slots. Abby wants to know about the schedule coming out for the twos. MLS Next Pro has said it's coming out in short order. After we were in Huntsville for Blastoff Battle, it was going to be, because the season kicks off Friday, March 15th. So once again, you got USL Championship, USL League One, and then the next week you've got MLS Next Pro kicking off. So business really does pick up in short order in the next couple of weeks. Haven't seen anything specific about a start date. Let me check with our favorite independents here and see if they have anything posted about any kind of a schedule release. I haven't seen anything. My guess is probably going to be somewhere in the next little bit. So I know that's a real big sweeping generality. Jersey Reveal Party in Chattanooga, by the way, is in 2 days at the Westin West Village downtown, where they had the announcement to begin with. They've got another pregame match coming up. So, all right. So let me do, yeah, Abby's going to check her ticket account. All right. MLS Next Pro 2024 season schedule release. All right. So let's see if the Google machine has any better ideas than me. Wouldn't be the first time. We know that. Okay, so back on the 8th is when they announced what the schedule breakdown is. And has it arrived? Was it out there already? I thought it was. Hang on. Shootouts return. Morning 4-card. We know the schedule. I thought the twos had announced. Hang on just a second. Now this is getting to me. Now I'm trying to figure it out. Hang on. No, hang on. We're efforting an MLS Next Pro schedule. So hang on just a second. Morning 4-card. Okay, yeah, it was announced. Okay, so the twos, it was announced back on the 8th. So it does exist. That's like, wait a second. Okay, so it does exist. Saturday, March 16th, Sunday, March 24th. First 2 home matches. Atlanta United plays 5 of their first 6 at home. So Saturday, March 16, Sunday, March 24, both 3:00 in the afternoon. So weekends, they're trying 3:00. They go to Crown Legacy for a quick turn on Thursday, March 28th. Then they get a week and a half off, or 2 weeks off, because then they're back on the 14th. Then they play the 17th and the 21st. So 5 of the first 6 for Atlanta United 2 are at home. Weekends are weekend afternoons. So weekend afternoons for Atlanta United 2. They do exist. So hang on just a second. Let me get the let me post it in the Twitch pitch here with the link. So there's the link to the schedule as we workshop things in real time. And it is, Fifth Third Bank Stadium in Kennesaw, home venue. So it's at the Fraction for another year. And tickets have gone on sale to the general public as of about 8 days ago. Southeast Division, Carolina Core, Chattanooga. And so that's where we are. So the schedule is out as of February 8th. It does exist. So really looking forward to seeing the guys starting March the 16th, March 24th. So that's your schedule for MLS Next Pro. And it is the way that it broke out is 28 matches, 14 and 14. Multi-match, family pack, single match tickets all available starting on the 19th. So competing in the Southeast Division, the former Central, which is going to get both Carolina Core and Chattanooga FC. We lose FC Cincinnati 2, Crew 2, and Fire 2. They're moving to the Northeast. 7 of the first 9, by the way, are at home. 3-match homestand in mid-April. In a week's time, Union 2, Chattanooga FC, FC Cincinnati 2. 5 of 6 matches on the road, June and July, as get the field ready for football season, American football at Kennesaw State. And it is time in September when they wrap things up on the 29th in Chester to take on Philadelphia Union 2. You still get your pick your opponent playoff format if you're the higher seed. That didn't work well last year. And so MLS Next Pro on the video side is going to be obviously on Apple TV. Morning, Harry. So there you go. Okay, so Abby said she hadn't paid for her season tickets and hadn't gotten any info since. So, but that's where we are with Atlanta United 2. Really looking forward to another year at the Fraction. You get to see Jaden Hibbert, Javier Armas, Noah Cobb. Really looking forward to seeing the guys this season. Kareem Tamimi for another year. And really looking forward to Alan Carlton, Gajardo, and Ashton Gordon, all the kids that we saw in Birmingham in the preseason. Darwin Mateus moved on. David Mejia moved on. But, Rocket Rita, and all of the young guys that we saw in Birmingham early on in the season, really looking forward to seeing them take the next steps under Steve Cook. Last year, they were 11-17 and were in the playoff hunt until the bitter end. And so really looking forward to it with them again for Atlanta United 2 and MLS Next Pro. So, so that's where we are with the twos. Next Pro schedules are out. So follow along with your favorite MLS Next Pro team, and you get to hang out with your with all your friends and be a part of seeing the next wave for Atlanta United, being there with Atlanta United too. So really looking forward to it once again. Getting back to our discussion about the women's national team, Tom says there should be a bolo out for the women's national team. I don't know who that was that played last night. I mean, look, Mexico is a better team. They were the better team. I mean, I don't know what else you can wrap around it. But last night, Mexico was the better side. So now what do you do? That's the big question in all of this. What do you do as the women's national team? Do you sit there and try and win the Gold Cup with your mix of players? Hope you get your mix right. Win another trophy and possibly keep the younger players once again from getting the minutes that they need to be ready in situations where they really will be needed, like the Olympics. This will be the interesting question for This will be the interesting question for the national team in this. And like I said, I'm literally taking this in the time frame that we are in. I'm not even looking past this time frame. I'm literally looking at this tournament. Then when you get out of here, then you got to get ready for the Olympics. And then what are you going to do in the Olympics? How are you going to lay that out? But when you're kicking the can down the road like this, sooner or later you run out of road. Or you kick the can wrong and it goes into the ditch and you don't want to go chasing after it. You sit there and go, I can't get in there. There's too much mud. Mexico was the better team. End of discussion. Now, what does the U.S. do to respond? That's the question. Yes, you wanted to rotate. You were down 1-0 at the half. Then you substituted in who you substituted in. Had another goal scored on you at 90+2. And then you end up with what you end up with, losing 2-0. You're the 2 seed out of the group. You're going to be in the final 8. Road got a little harder, I guess. We'll find out, like I said, like Maddie said earlier, that we'll find out when you find out who the 8 are, how it lays out for you. Don't be surprised if you end up having to play Mexico again and learn from your lessons. And we'll see what happens. So that's, the discussion really isn't that much of a discussion. Beaten by the better team. Bottom line. Abby with a public service announcement. Going to make available the Wednesday, May 8th game tickets. Going to Billy Joel at MSG. Very good. Good work. Dell, and I wanted to talk about this a little bit. Dell's family bought them all tickets for Manchester United Liverpool at the fairgrounds at Williams-Brice in Columbia, August 3rd. Okay, so first off, Dell, good on you. Second, I never thought I would have the day of Manchester United and Liverpool at Williams-Brice Stadium in Columbia, South Carolina on my venue bingo card. I never thought that would ever happen. Abby, they're expensive as ish. And this is what I was getting at. I have, because of following Tony Annan and the South Carolina soccer program, I had a pre-code to get in before everybody else. And there aren't a whole lot of tickets left. There aren't a whole lot of groups. And Dell says, Abby wants to know if that if there were more than Argentina Copa. Dell says not many tickets left, maybe 500. His were around 300. So that means that are you in the end zone? Or are you upper deck, lower level? Abby had a pre-code and forgot all about it. But the reason that I just wanted to go in and see what the price point was for this. So in this venue, lower bowl, mid-level, okay, for 300, yeah, because I think upper level, mid-level, I think was around 190. Literally, to be in the building, upper tank, halfway up, it was 190. And then, yeah, the lowers were 500 each. There you go. Dell's wife family, USC season ticket holders had a pre-sale. Yeah, I had a pre-sale code too. I just wanted to see what the prices were. But literally, I'm seeing tickets now like front row for like $1,000 down in one of the corners. And I think that's resale. Yeah, Dell, I went in last night, middle of the night, and I was like second in the cube. That literally is like one person was ahead of me, and then I went in behind it. 190, 300, 500, and 1,000 was what I saw. Once again, I never thought I would see a price point. First off, I never thought I would ever see. Never have I ever seen the idea of Manchester United and Liverpool and Williams-Brice Stadium in Columbia, South Carolina. Those four things I did not have in the same sentence ever. But as Jarrett has made the point on this show, you need to have matches like that in SEC venues. Could you imagine, and this is going to be the first step in that process, where soccer will just mean more? I mean, think about this. Yeah, Dell, that's the other question. It might be it might be a little short. Dell's wondering about dimensions for Williams-Brice and Death Valley for soccer. And yes, 4-card with money, anything is possible. Absolutely true. But could you imagine, say, just as an example, and I think that this opens the door to all of those possibilities. Could you imagine, just for the sake of argument, and I think that what this does with this game, August the 3rd, where there better damn well be hydration breaks, because it is going to be temperate and it is going to be humid. They better bring multiple kits per each player, and you're going to see a lot of academy kids. You are so going to see academy kids, but if you're a Liverpool fan, hey, that's what got you Gummy Bear Cup, so you'd be seeing some local heroes. But think about it. If you played at Neyland, if you played in the Swamp, I'm not going to mention Vanderbilt. If you played at Bryant-Denny, if you played at Vaught Hemingway, if you had a game at Vaught Hemingway in Oxford and had the pregame tailgating at the Grove before a Premier League match inside the building. So if you had the Grove all set up as normal and you had a game in Oxford, you'd have that. You'd have the Grove, everybody gets started, and they work their way into the game. At Death Valley in LSU, you've got to do it at night. If you got 2 Premier League heavyweights to play in Baton Rouge at Death Valley, you got to do that at night. Kyle Field at Texas A&M, 108,000. I mean, you've got that matchup that's coming up there. And don't think for a second that matchup won't attract folks. Mexico and Brazil at Kyle Field. USA Today says it's supposed to happen on grass June 8th. So you will have Mexico and Brazil at Kyle Field June the 8th. And you will have Manchester United Liverpool at the Fairgrounds in Columbia August 3rd. This is where we're getting here with all of this. Auburn, you play in Death Valley. You play on the Plains. Sorry, I got my Tigers confused. Boss will shoot me for that. You play on the Plains in front of 80,000. I mean, you have to take the hedge out probably. But in the SEC, you've got venues that could turn this thing sideways. Neyland, the Swamp, the Fairgrounds, Bryant-Denny, the Grove for aesthetics alone, Death Valley at night, Kyle Field in June already, and the Plains. You want to talk about a new dynamic for the sport in this country? I mean, Mexico and Brazil, masterstroke at Kyle Field. Absolute masterstroke. Now, what you do You really want to play? You really want to fill up Kyle Field? You make the price point worth it instead of pricing folks out. Like I said, I wonder in all of these places, configuration, is it going to be regulation? How close is it going to be? 102,733 is Kyle Field. Record attendance, 110,633 when they realized that they expanded it too much. So you could get 110,000 in the building. I've been in the 110,000 configuration. I've been in that building twice, once before and once after the expansion. But you've been 110,000. Right now it's 102. 102, 733 for Kyle Field, June 8, Mexico and Brazil. You could have SEC venues bringing everything forward. Abby, great to see you. Half a dozen venues, at least in the Southeastern Conference, that could be worthy of insane crowds moving everything forward. But like I said, if you're going to do Death Valley and Baton Rouge, you got to do it at night. There is no substitute. You've got to do it at night. Night game in Baton Rouge has to be. But the plan, according to USA Today, for Mexico, Brazil, June 8, Kyle Field, you make the price point affordable for that match, and you could end up with 102 to 110. You could be waking up some of those places with the tarps where they don't let folks sit. And you could have an insane crowd for Mexico and Brazil. Doesn't matter who's going to be there. Maybe you have a star or two, however you want to play it. But to Jarrett's long-standing point, soccer in SEC football venues has the margin to be absolutely crazy. And I think it'd be awesome. But Death Valley, you got to do it at night. So June 8, Kyle Field, Mexico and Brazil, according to the USA Today. Williams, Bryce, Dell, 77,559. 77,559. 4Card looking at Leagues Cup, saying it should be the top 24 teams and make it a Leagues Cup. Like literally a Leagues Cup. MLS, Liga MX, 8 from Europe, World Cup style, 32, 8 groups of 4. 1 European, 1 Liga MX, 2 MLS. 4Card's on a roll this morning. But seriously, you want to fill venues? I think what you've got in Kyle Field in June, according to USA Today, and what you will get with Manchester United, Liverpool. I mean, obviously don't schedule them regularly in these venues, but if you do one here, make them special events, it'll be massive. And people will, people in Europe will sit there and go, okay, cool. All right, yeah, we do that at the Camp Nou at the Bernabeu. Yeah, good on you. But I think it'd be fantastic, at least for the Southeastern footprint when it comes to what we're seeing, that you could make things like that happen. Like I said, I don't know what the dimensions are in these places. Might be a little tight across the board. You can fit all the recruits and camera crews you want. You just can't really fit a regulation soccer pitch. So we'll see. But yeah, Kyle Field and the Fairgrounds, the first two places that that would be in the SEC footprint housing or hosting those things. Really looking forward to seeing it on those 2 dates and seeing how everyone is there to represent. Reminders, once again, tonight, 5:30 and 7:30. It is Northwest Whitfield and Dalton from Chapel Harmon. And really looking forward to seeing everybody up there in Whitfield County. Last night, if you missed it, it's on. Yes, thank you, Doe. Definitely report back. If you missed it, there is a show, and first and foremost, if there is required reading, if you can get in and if you can get into the New York Times archive, Joe Drake does some quality work when it comes to feature stories, and very, very talented writer. And a couple of years ago, Joe went up to Dalton and did a story on the rivalries up there in Whitfield County, and did a story on Dalton soccer and what it means to the community. 53% Hispanic in a town 2 years ago of 35,000 in the last census. So requested required reading. If you can get into the New York Times archive, look at the Joe Drake piece, and it kind of breaks down, for those of you that have never been to Dalton, what it means to Dalton. And he went there for the Southeast Whitfield Dalton game that had 2,800 people there at Chapel Harmon, and got the slice of life and went to the Oakwood Cafe, which is mandatory for anybody that, goes to Dalton. If you've got the time, you got to go to the Oakwood Cafe. And it was a great breakdown of the rivalry and what it means, and what soccer means to the community, and what Matt Cheeves has been able to do in his 30 years of coaching there after graduating from the University of West Georgia and building the Dalton program. I did the math, and you know me in math. Matt's record in 30 years, and this is about as close as I could figure, 7 state titles, 461, 62, and 19. Matt Cheeves' record as head coach in Dalton for the Catamounts. And to see the sport expand and be recognized the way that it is, and to have all of the effort that's put into it, putting in pitches for anyone to go and play on, and they're an artificial surface, so low maintenance, and so you can have everybody go and play. Really good piece by Joe Drake from a couple of years ago, April of 2022, so almost 2 years old. But that's what we get to kind of take a peek at tonight. Northwest Whitfield and Dalton, 5:30 and 7:30. Maddie Cruz, Jason, and myself will all be up there. Girls first, boys to follow. And really looking forward to that. Last night, if you missed it, there is a show that is mentioned in this piece in the New York Times on the local television station there, WDNN. And it's called Monday Night Football, FUTBOL. And it is an hour-long talk show with some guys who grew up there and played and love the sport, and they get to talk to folks, and they let you know what's going on up there in Northwest Georgia and in Southeast Tennessee. Technically Southeast, I guess. And Jason was on the show last night, did 2 segments with the guys. Very, very cool stuff. It's on their YouTube channel, WDNN TV. And you can look it up. And Jason gives a bit of a primer as to what we do here at SDH and what it's going to be like for us to be up there, and Jason's view on soccer as it's growing and everything. So very, very cool stuff that he caught up with the guys from Monday Night Football last night. And like I said, that's on their YouTube channel, WDNN TV. So we'll be up there coming on a little before 5:30 and 7:30, 7:45 for the 2 games. Then Jason's going to be doing Atlanta soccer tonight after the Hawks game on 92.9 The Game. So it might be about 10:30 when he comes on for Atlanta soccer tonight. And so he'll do his hour, and we'll catch up with everything on Jason's mind there, including the 343. So you can catch up with us, soccerdownhere.mixlr.com, MIXLR, soccerdownhere.mixlr.com. That's our live site. That's where all the live games go. And you can catch up with us all year long there. If you miss a game, you can go back and listen to it. They're always going to be there. So the Mixlr site is where our live stuff is, and you can catch it up there. So we'll be there 5:30 and probably 7:30, a little after. Atlanta soccer tonight will follow after the Hawks game on 92.9 The Game. That'll be later today. Then tomorrow, Tyler Pilgrim from Scarves and Spikes will join us at 9:15. We'll get Tyler's thoughts in the midweek, heading into the early bye week, what he thought about what happened in Columbus, and we'll have those discussions coming up at 9:15. Busiest man in all of soccer, Dylan Butler. Hopefully we can get him to let us know what he thought about the first weekend of play in MLS at 10 o'clock. Thursday, we can hopefully catch up with our friends from the Marshall Islands. Once again, we talked about it with the Scarf. Technical Director Lloyd Hours, Director of Communication Matt Webb. They are in Northwest Arkansas now. A lot of meetings, talking to a lot of folks about the growth of the game and to the Marshallese people. So hopefully we can catch up with them. 10 o'clock Eastern. Nico Moreno back from vacation in Colombia, and we'll see if Nico is back up and running. See if we can have Nico on at 10:30. Then Friday, when we know what our game is, we'll let you know. But it'll be Friday night game of the week presented by our friends at Kaiser Permanente, 5:30 and 7:30 at a location TBD. When we know, we'll let you know. We'll announce it. Our friends from Beyond Goals at 9:30. Weekend whip around at 10. Patent pending, trademark coming sooner, hopefully, rather than later. So it's a very, very busy week for us here at SDH, and that's where we are here. Busy part of the season, business end of the schedule. So that's where we are. Gossip, rumor, and innuendo. Before we get out of here and let you know what's going on. And once again, it's all, players, things, and headlines and all that kind of stuff. Real Madrid have come to an agreement with Bayern Munich about Alphonso Davies. Come to an agreement, look to complete the deal either this summer or in 2025. So it's 6 months or 18 months from now when he becomes a free agent. Pochettino's future is uncertain after the Gummy Bear Cup loss. Sporting Lisbon's Ruben Amorim, a possible replacement, 4-letter paper. Take the information at your own peril. Manchester United expected to offload several players in the summer. Antony among those they would be prepared to sell. Chelsea hope to sell Trevor Chalobah, Armando Broja, with the futures of Conor Gallagher and Marc Cucurella also in doubt as they look to make major changes. Bayern Munich, Liverpool, and Arsenal in the race to sign Fulham's Joao Palhinha in the summer. Manchester City would prefer a move to MLS for Kevin De Bruyne over the Saudi Pro. That league that we neither condone nor endorse nor promote is wanting to offer 9 figures to Kevin De Bruyne to come and play in that league. Turns 33 this summer when the contract enters its final year. Zidane is open to coaching in Italy, linked with a return to Juve, according to our friends at Gazzetta dello Sport. Aaron Ramsdale keen to leave Arsenal in the summer after losing his place to David Raya. Spurs leading the chase for Hull City's Jadon Philogene, although Villa have a buyback clause for the winger. England Youth International Amari Forson, 19, could leave Manchester United this summer with the attacking midfielder out of contract at Old Trafford. Celtic eyeing a move for Shalman Kelleher, the backup keeper for Liverpool, looking for a number 1. Would Kelleher want to leave that situation at Liverpool? That's a question. And then Nice's center back Jean-Claire Todibo interested in moving back to Barca despite interest from Manchester United. Once again, this time of year, check your sources. Check your sources, check your sources, check your sources. Other headlines going around. Spending rules chaos as clubs push for change after the Everton reprieve. And when you have 4 dudes writing the headline and writing the story, you know it's big. Morgan, Law, McGrath, and Percy at the Telegraph. An appeal panel reduced the number. Nottingham Forest and Everton are facing hearings within the next 2 weeks. We'll get into Nottingham Forest in a bit. Chelsea's rivals believe they're among clubs needing to make major sales by June 30 to avoid being charged with a PSR breach. Some executives, and calls likely to be raised at a shareholders meeting Thursday, now want a significant relaxation in controls as a part of overhaul of the rules already being discussed in the Premier League. A mounting sense of urgency to introduce greater flexibility was raised by clubs privately as it emerged on Monday how Chelsea's rivals suggest they have to raise around £100 million by the end of June. Chelsea's club sources refute that figure, stress any early sales will be done without new signings in mind. All spending breach cases certain have points deductions attached, as the Everton appeal panel said nothing less is a suitable punishment. Clubs are split over the merit of punishments handed out this season, with one shareholder underlining the system they all voted for being a farce. Nottingham Forest's hearing, by the way, is set to start next Thursday and is going to conclude next Friday, so we'll keep an eye on that. Everton's is going to follow soon after that, both hearings due to be resolved by April 15th. So that's the timetable here. And then once again, you're looking at what happens in appeals processes, and they have to be all decided by 5 days after the Premier League season comes to a close, so everyone can be in line when it comes to promotion and relegation, who's going, who's not, what the final points totals are, and who can drop. Eddie Howe apparently is safe at Newcastle, but an FA Cup run would solidify that. Maidstone United lost to John Nason and Coventry City 5-0 in the FA Cup, but they still could not be happier about everything that they have accomplished in the All-In tournament. And there's a cool article at the Telegraph about how an 80-year-old owner and his lucky socks took them from bankruptcy to the FA Cup and the glory that is there at the FA Cup. So you got that. Apparently, some Manchester United players asked for the day off after the loss to Fulham. Normal routine is analysis and warm down the day after a match. Jamie Jackson at The Guardian says staff were surprised by requests, which were turned down. The request caused surprise given the display, and the word Jackson uses is insipid, and it being part of the manager's normal routine rejected by staff, who reminded the players of their commitments. Ten Hag thought to be unaware of the request. So players wanted the day off after the loss to Fulham. They were like, nope, not happening. Christopher Olsen is in hospital after collapse in Swedish international. The midfielder for Midtjylland is on a ventilator, affected by an acute disease related to the brain at the age of 28. Collapsed at home, had a spell at Arsenal as a teenager, has not appeared for the Danish club since December. Midtjylland came out with a statement, lost consciousness in his home on Tuesday, a week ago, transferred to University Hospital, admitted, and on a ventilator. Apparently, acute disease related to the brain, not caused by self-harm of any kind, nor is the cause due to external factors. 47 caps for country, and Arsenal reached out and wished him a speedy recovery. Let's see. Work started on the Belfast ground for Euro 2028. So they got three seasons to get that fixed. And did you see this? John Durden at the Telegraph in an op-ed. For the third time in less than a year, Cristiano Ronaldo is at the center of a controversy over behavior involving his, quote, pelvic area, end quote. So apparently, in a match over the weekend, same opposition that he'd had once before. So last April, he decided to grab down the middle. Al Nassr loses to Al Hilal. Those who thought it was out of order back then, Ronaldo got away with it. Earlier in February, another incident again, Riyadh Seasons Cup. Friendly, same opposition, same chance. It annoyed CR39. Left the pitch at the half. Someone threw what looked like a halal scarf at his feet. Ronaldo put it in his shorts and then chucked it. Sunday, another Riyadh derby against Al-Shabaab. 3-2, 3 minutes left, major celebrations. And then Ronaldo, after hearing chants of Messi, 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 put a hand to his ear and the other toward what has been described as his, quote, pelvic area. And then facing the home fans, moved it back and forth. Did something similar as the full-time whistle confirmed the victory. Al Nassr 4 points clear. Disciplinary now is facing a big test with Ronaldo. So what do you do? We'll see. So apparently Cristiano Ronaldo, CR39, is having fun in the Saudi League? I don't know. Just a question. Before we go, what to watch, where to watch it. And once again, remember, if you really want to be a degenerate, fanatisfntz.co/soccer down here. And you can watch CDO for the fans, say all these different things, all the BNs, AFCON, Libertadores, lower divisions, all the Brasileiro, it's there. fntz.co/soccer down here helps out the show, helps out the network, helps out everybody. BN's got the Copa Libertadores at 5 and 7:30. Sporting Cristal and always ready at 7:30. CBS Sports Network, England and Italy International Women's Friendly at noon. We talked about the CONCACAF Hemispheric Extravaganza triple header, 6, 8:15, and 10:30. FS2, Coupe de France at 2:45. ESPN Deportes, group stage in the W Gold Cup, Colombia, Puerto Rico at 7, Brazil, Panama at 10:15. Fox Deportes simulcasting the Coupe de France. TUDN simulcasting Philadelphia Saprissa. BN Sports Connect has the Women's Cup, and BN Sports Connect is a free click-in. Deportivo Cali, and this is from Colombia now. Deportivo Cali, Gotham at 5. America de Cali racing Louisville at 8. So you can watch that there. The Plus has W Gold Cup. They've got FA Cup, triple header, and they have 3 matches in the FA Cup, 2:20, 2:30, and 3. Bournemouth, Leicester, Blackburn, Newcastle, Luton, Manchester City. Spanish Copa del Rey at 3:20. Fox Soccer Plus has the U20 Championship at 3, 6, and 8. Golasso Network has your W Gold Cup doubleheader. Paramount Plus has the Scottish Premiership and the W Gold Cup. VIX has your first and your last matchup from the CONCACAF Champions Cup. So busy day of watching stuff. So since she has made it all the way to the end, Maddie, before we go, what else is on your mind?
Well, make sure you guys listen to Northwest Whitfield versus Dalton. We'll be at Dalton. It'll be a fun drive. And I don't know if I have anything else.
Okay.
If you want to, it's not soccer related, but
if
you want to watch some lax tomorrow, you can watch Kennesaw State face off against Mercer.
Cool.
Tomorrow.
Sweet. And so what's the time? What's the time on that?
4:00.
Okay.
So if y'all want to watch it, it'll be on ESPN Plus.
Excellent.
Not have to, but if you want to.
Okay.
It's there.
All right. So,
and go U.S. Women's National Team. We got this.
Yes. So U.S. Women's National Team, once again, hey, you got beat by the better team. That's just, I mean.
Oh, yeah. No, they got beat by the better team. 110%. Mexico really, they were phenomenal last night. They really played really well.
Yeah. So, I mean, once again, that's just where we are. You got beat by the better team, and now you got questions. So, really, really looking forward to going up to Whitfield County and catching up with our folks there. And really, it's going to be a fun night, and it's going to be great to see that particular part of the rivalry with the directional Whitfield and Dalton. And so, we went in a lot of different directions. No real surprise once again on a Tuesday. And full show again tomorrow. Back at it again. I will be in Dalton doing the morning show because of the late night we're going to have. I'm just going to go to bed. When we're done, I'm going to bed. Maddie's got an hour drive. She can be okay. She's a young kid. She'll make it. Everything's fine. But I will be doing the show from Dalton in the morning, and we will break down everything that happened today. Get you ready for tomorrow. Once again, tomorrow, Tyler Pilgrim, Scarves and Spikes at 9:15. Hopefully, Dylan Butler at 10 o'clock. So, been a full day. Maddie, thanks as always for being in charge of the ones and twos, cruising the ones and twos. That's how this works. And we'll be back at it again 5:30, a little before 5:30, with the Tuesday games of the week presented by our friends at Kaiser Permanente. So for everybody here at SDH, for Maddie, for Jason, for me, for Jarrett, for Nick, for everybody that's attached to it all, thanks for hanging on with us as the fourth put up the banner and we went way over time this morning. Play it safe, everybody. Enjoy the games, and we will catch up with you later this afternoon here on SDH, back in a little under 22 hours. End of the show. That means I get to do this.